Okay, so now just like we did with the create button, we have to do the same to the edit and delete functions. So for edit, we will have the initial page that is shown, HTTP GET, and we're going to have the post for updating the post method for updating the actual data in the database. So then we will create another version of edit, and in this version, we're going to pass in the note that's going to be updated. Next, we'll go context.update. We'll pass in the note, update information, and then we have to save those changes to the database. Boom. And then we could pass back our note. And for the delete, the same thing. HTTP GET, HTTP POST. So to reiterate, and I know I do this a lot, however, when you're an HTTP GET passes all the information, including form information, in the URL. An HTTP POST only has the URL in the URL and passes all the form information that has been submitted in the header of the actual data, but it's not in the URL. So you should know this concept already if you went through the Introduction to Web Development course and Introductory Programming course, but just in case you don't remember it. So now we're going to remove the note that is passed in. But we'd be passing in the actual ID of the note, so we would actually have to retrieve the note first for the delete. .notes where so what I'm using here is something called link. What link is a way to query the database, and we will have a separate course on this supplementary course, but it's relatively straightforward. In order to create a filter to retrieve particular data, you would use this notation: n arrow is equal to n dot the field you're filtering on is equal to the element you're looking for, and then first or default, which will give you the first element or nothing. And we will create a variable called note, and we'll remove that. And then from our data, then we'll go context dot save changes to commit that change to the database, and boom. And then we could return to, I'd use a redirect here, redirect, and let's say note/index. And finally, the details page. Here we'd also pass in the ID. We'd want to retrieve the particular note that we're looking at the details for, and then we'll pass the note to the page. And details would never be viewed without the actual note, so it's okay to leave it this way. So here, that's our backend code to edit and delete, but we still have to fill in the front end code for the actual operations in the views. So if we go to delete, I'm going to take a shortcut now because I feel like we've been going on and doing this for a long time. So I'm going to actually just copy it from old generated code. So here's our delete. And we are actually looking at a different package. So I'm going to change dash app to from scratch app, and we're using notes, the note model, and that's what this is updating. The other fields are the same. Except we don't have a create date in our notes model, do we? Nope. So we will remove that. Okay, now the edit. Copy in the form code for the edit CSHTML page. And boom. Change the model that's referenced at the top, once again, to our note model. Everything else seems fine. And details, which is a great page because it does not have any form information. It's just displaying the data. Okay, and from scratch app, and no. Okay, so let's check it out. I'm going to double check that I created the notes. We also have to create the table that lists out all the information on the index page. So here we go. So create a table, and this will show all the notes that we have, note information that we have so I'm removing the create date, of course, and I have to also include the fact that the model that we're using is a list of notes. So IEnumerable is basically a list, and model.note. Okay, and it's also stating it's from scratch app. Okay, that was done. I don't know why it's there. Must have changed that before. So then we have the index. We have IEnumerable of note, and everything looks good to go. Let's play it. Let's see what our app does right now. Okay, so we go to our notes, and we get an exception. Object not set to an instance of an object. So what's going on here? The reason why this error appeared is because our model in our controller of notes for index, when it is called, is empty. It's not passing in anything into the view. So what we have to do here is type in context.notes.toList. That's not all it'll take. And this will return an enumerable, which will be all the notes in our database. This is link. So press start or play to open it up in our browser. Let's try that again. And it should work this time, unless I forgot something. Okay, ta-da! So we have the first note showing up here that we created, as well as the edit ability. But when we go to edit, it's empty. And why is that? It's because the actual ID, based on the code we copied over, passes the ID in the URL. So let's change that. Let's change how this works. So we go to edit, and here it would be int ID. And let's make that optional by putting a question mark in front of the int. It says it could be returned or not. So then we'll say if ID is not equal to null, what we'll do is pull the actual data, the element from the database, notes, where note of ID is equal to ID. And we'll say note is equal to what we pulled first, or default. We don't have to set this. What's this red squiggly line? Well, it's saying we have to implicitly define it. Okay. And use of unassigned local variable notes. So it's complaining that it might not be assigned. So if it is assigned, we'll return it. If not, we'll just return an empty view. And now edit is complaining. Not all paths. Oh, that resolved itself. Okay. Now let's play. Go to notes. Type in edit. And we could change it now to save it. Let's go back to our notes. And it's been updated. We view the details. And as you can see, we see the details. And if we were to delete it, it asks us if we really want to delete this. However, since we did the same thing happened with the delete, the actual ID is passed in the URL. So for our get, we need an ID variable. And here, we'll paste this. No, that's wrong. Well, that's correct. So if they select yes, so we're not doing anything in the get, we're just pulling the variable, but it doesn't have to be set. So we're doing exactly what we did in our edit function. Okay. And then the green squiggly line is because our program is still running, so it can't save those changes. So the reason why I added that code is because if you look at the title and the description, it's empty. That means it wasn't actually receiving the variable to display, which we want. So press play. Go to notes. Delete. Are you sure you want to delete this? Delete. And it's deleted. So now we have just added successfully the edit, the update, the delete, and the create functionality for our program. So now the next thing we're going to do is add in authentication to our application because we can't log in or register. That means anybody that logs into this application could edit, view the details, and delete our notes, which we don't want.